Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, episode 46, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. Not many comics this week, only 10 comics, one digital, all the rest printed, so let's get started. So number 10 was Big Book. Vertigo Quarterly, one shot. This is one I just felt like was not worth $7.99. A lot of short stories, but one thing I wish they did with the Vertigo Quarterly was just give us, stories that promoted the series that are already out, like American Vampire or, The Wake, these type of stories that, and I know I'm just mentioning Scott Snyder titles, but other titles too, or Coffin Hill, those type of titles, that I could get into some Vertigo titles. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity to preview those things, give us fresh stories, new stories, and then preview those stories, like Marvel Point 1. That's what I was expecting with the Vertigo Quarterly. But with this, you get some lackluster short stories. You got some cool ones. I would say there's like 20% is cool stories, and then the rest is like, oh, that was okay. And I kind of wanted to rush through it because it's such a lengthy book, and I binge all my books. I read them all at once, so I was like, oh, when's it over? Like, I kind of want this to be over already. So maybe make it a $4.99 book and have less short stories. That way it's not so much in a book. And there's one really confusing one about numbers. I'm like, whoa, I really don't care about this. But then there's that interesting one that I thought was interesting about the celebrity who didn't care that she killed off her competition. She's like, oh, well, I'm a drunk and I don't care. And this, serial killer who's a painter and believes that his art is killing people. So I thought that was interesting. So there are some interesting stories, but a lot of them is just like, oh, okay, but where can I read more about that? I invested into this character, but there's nowhere else to read about them. So I understand why they're going the short story route. It's just a different way to tell a story, but I thought this would have been a really cool promotional book to promote your other books, and I usually don't say that. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with Vertigo Quarterly. I just thought it was, especially for the price tag, I just was kind of bored with it. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. Alright, so next is a Comic Frontline exclusive, number 9, which is Disney Kingdom's Seekers of the Weird, issue 4. Not a bad issue, but I feel like issue 1 really impressed me. I really loved issue 1, liked the characters. And I will still say it, like our main characters. It's the people who are making me stick with the story. But what I don't like is the overall story. There's a lot of monsters attacking them, and there's just a lot of chaos in this issue. And that's the best way to put it. It's these people are trying to attack them. The uncle might be a traitor, but he actually is not a traitor. The parents are still kidnapped. Lots is going on in this story, and it felt cluttered. But I did like the art. I still like the characters and how they're just thrown into this mad world. They don't really know what's about, and they're just trying their hardest to save their parents. So I did like that part of the story, and that's what's making me stick with the miniseries. And it's a miniseries, that's why I'm sticking with it. I think there's one more issue left. It is a shame that it's not as good as I want it to be for the first Disney miniseries. But even though I'm not a big Figment fan, I keep seeing the advertisement for every Marvel book. I think I will try Figment for the first issue, just see where it goes. But I do like the art for the series, really like the main characters, but I will probably wait for I recommend you guys, if you haven't read the series yet, I would wait for trade. Cheap price for a trade for Seekers of the Weird. Yeah, so this was a little cluttered for me. I give it 3 stars. Alright, so number 8 is Dexter's Laboratory, issue 1. I really had fun with this. A lot of the issues now are just very solid issues. I would say there's a lot of solid issues this week, but nothing that totally impressed me, and I will say that here. Nothing that really blew my mind this week. But yeah, Dexter's Laboratory, going back to it, was a fun book. I really liked it. I think it's more of a new reader-friendly book, explaining exactly who Dexter is, what madness he goes through with his sister, and I think once we get towards the end of the story, it's oh, that's interesting for people that know what Dexter's Laboratory is. So we get to see that he makes a machine to wish his sister away. So I think it's going to be a cool cliffhanger to see. Maybe he'll become a brother or something. I actually didn't notice that until now. Oh no, I wish I was the only child. So either he's going to truly miss Dee Dee, or something's going to go wrong with this experiment. And that's what's going to be really fun about Dexter. I really love the tone for this book. Love the art. It feels like the show. Just like Powerpuff Girls, I feel like it feels like the show. And I hope this becomes an ongoing, because I would love to read Dexter's Laboratory every month. Just like Powerpuff Girls, I think started as a miniseries and then went to an ongoing. So hopefully Dexter's Laboratory is the same. I'll definitely be getting the next issue. Even though I thought this was an okay issue, I think the next issues will become better, because it will be less of a recap. So I'll give that 3.5 stars, and hopefully get more Cartoon Network stuff, because that's what I love about what IDW is doing. Alright, what are we up to now? I think we're up to number 7, right? Yes, number 7, which is the Batgirl Annual, issue 2. I'm surprised to see Batgirl so low on my list. And really because the annual is more of a Birds of Prey annual than it is a Batgirl one. It's really cool to see Gal write the Birds of Prey in the New 52. But it's mostly about Poison Ivy. So it's not really like her writing Black Canary. Like if Gal was writing Black Canary again, I'll be like, hell yeah. I want more Black Canary. Come on. Because I'm not really reading, I am reading Birds of Prey in trade. I'm still in the first trade. But I would love to see like a Black Canary solo series written by Gail Simone. That'd be awesome. Especially with her popularity with Arrow now. But getting back to this story, yeah, not a lot of Black Canary and not a lot of our birds that we know of, pre-Nip 2. It's about Poison Ivy and her, not really being human, and we get to see glimpses of her humanity. That's pretty interesting. And, Barbara, we get to see Barbara is a complicated character now in the New 52. She's dark, but she has compassion, and we see that throughout this issue. So that's what's interesting about it. It is a Birds of Prey arc, though. It is interesting, but it didn't really blow my mind like most Batgirl issues do. And you don't have to get this annual if you're not reading Birds of Prey. That's pretty much the gist of it. This should have been a Birds of Prey annual written by Gail Simone for a guest star. It shouldn't have been a Batgirl one. I'd rather have had a Batman Eternal crossover or a Batman Eternal tie-in with the Batgirl annual than a Birds of Prey annual. Especially see how Gail would have wrote Barbara's reaction to James Gordon. I think that would have been more interesting. So yeah, and art is also a little plain in this issue, so I'll give it 3.5. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Alright, next is number 6, which is The Flash, Annual Issue 3. So this is the return of Wally West, and he's a different type of character. And I talk a little bit about this more in my in-depth review, but this is mostly, seeing Barry in present time, meeting Wally, seeing that Wally is now living with Iris, and Wally just doesn't like the Flash because he defeated Daniel, and Daniel was like a father figure to him. And that's the present story going on. It's still Central City getting used to After Forever Evil and getting adjusted. The other story is drawn by Brian Booth, and I think it's Brett Booth, I'm sorry, not Brian Booth. And he does the future story where Flash is more aggressive. He will kill people, and he wants to get revenge, or at least save Wally's life, and kind of change this future. So it's interesting to see the comparison of Barry of the future, Barry of the present. And that's what's fun about this issue, is those comparisons. And love seeing Ron Frenz' art for the present. I would love to see more Ron Frenz art for Flash. I think it works so well, and I'm glad we're seeing more Ron Frenz. I think last week was Spider-Man, this week was Flash. I would love to see him on Flash title. That'd be great. But loved his art here. And I didn't expect it. Again, I didn't expect him to be on this series. At least for this issue. If it was annual, that's probably why he did the other parts, because Brett Booth will be working on other issues. So that's probably why we have some Ron Frenz here. But yeah, going to Wally, he's the wild card I wasn't sure about in this issue. I feel like he would be an interesting new character. Like I was saying in my in-depth review, if his name was William West, like he's related to Iris West, but he's not Wally. Because I didn't really get to see Wally here. Like I saw a West, but I didn't see Wally West. And I think as issues go on, we'll see exactly where his character goes. But I'm a little uncertain about him. I'm not a huge Wally West fan. But I could see why Wally West fans would be a little upset. Because I didn't really see his personality here. He didn't feel like Wally to me. Yeah, so I could see why people would be upset, and we'll see what happens with Wally. Yeah, but I did like it. I thought this was an okay issue. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. There's some really cool stuff here, some good planted seeds, and yeah, I liked it overall, though. I still got to see where this story's going. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I might be angry what happens with Wally, but I might be really happy what's going on with this future story with Wally and Iris, so we'll have to see as issues go on. I don't want to judge it totally yet. Alright, I think we're up to 5, yes. Number 5 is Silver Surfer, issue 2. I like this. I really do like Silver Surfer. I like Dan Slott's I guess, vision of Silver Surfer. It's very Doctor Who. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. I really watch the show. But you can tell it has the companion stuff going on, the space stuff. And I think that's pretty interesting. And you can see that's the tone of the book. So I do like that. But this issue is, I think we learn a little bit more about Dawn, her character, her personality, really. And I really like her personality. I think it jumps off the page a lot. You know, she's never left her home, but she's so comfortable in space. And I like that about her. She's a go-getter. And I like that about her character in this issue. You really, again, that her personality really leaked on the page with this issue. And then Silver Surfer's story was okay, but I think the real story here was the relationship that hasn't happened yet but will happen between Silver Surfer and Dawn, and then figuring out, oh, we know this relationship's gonna happen, but I don't even know this girl. And that's a big story, but the other story, you know, Silver Surfer like going to this green lady and Dawn trying to escape prison was, I thought, the weaker part of the issue. But I love the art here. I thought that made up for it. I think Michael Allred's art fits really well for Silver Surfer. I love, really, one of my favorite scenes was when Silver Surfer goes up to the Green Lady and you see how small Silver Surfer is. I think that was my favorite page. But I liked it. I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I'm actually really excited to see where Silver Surfer goes, but I think this is a little weaker story-wise, but really cool character-wise where they're going at. I'm really intrigued to see where both these two's relationship go, and I can see this being one of my favorite titles as the relationship develops more between Dawn and Silver Surfer. Alright, so now we're up to number 4, which is Furious, issue 4. I really love this Dark Horse title. It's about a celebrity who gets powers and we don't know how, and we're going to learn next issue. And she meets up with this sister she has, or it seems like a friend more, but I guess they were like sisters. And it's interesting to see how this other girl is so brutal and wants to ruin our Furious's life. And now Furious is getting comfortable with the crowd, getting comfortable with herself, and now when she finally does get comfortable and, you know, the crowd's accepting her and people are accepting her, her life is going to get ruined a little. So it's going to be interesting to see how she got her powers. That's something I've been really curious about. And I just like the story overall. I think they did a really good job with Furious's character. I think they really fleshed her out throughout this whole series. So yeah, I really liked it. I like the art, and I feel like this is a different type of title. So if you haven't been reading Furious, I really do recommend it. I really like the title. And I always like celebrities becoming superheroes. I think it's always interesting to see that, and they do in a really different way with Furious. So very excited to see issue 5, but really upset to see that it's going to end because it's only a miniseries. But hopefully maybe with Dark Horse, I know they like bringing other miniseries and expanding upon it. So let's see a second miniseries for Furious. By Furious. Alright, so let's go into number 3. Batman Eternal, issue 4. Surprising, Batman Eternal is my number 3. Like, last week it was my number 1, and it's been closer to my number 1, but it is number 3. It's still high up there. But yeah, with Batman Eternal, I really like the story. It's Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon is one of my favorite characters. I grew up with her, you know, so I really do like Barbara Gordon. And I like her reaction to James Gordon being convicted and going to jail. I like how she just wants to beat everyone up and, you know, punching Batman and just really hasn't slept. Keeps going into the costume, and that's Barbara Gordon for you. So I really liked her reaction to that, and I think they did that really well. I like Stephanie Brown here. You know, Stephanie Brown's just digging deeper into Sportsmaster. See, it's just like Artemis from, it's Clue Master. But yeah, she's digging deeper into Clue Master and seeing that her mother actually knows about Clue Master. So it's going to be interesting to see if Stephanie Brown finds out that her mother knows and how she reacts to that. I'm really excited to see what really brings Stephanie to go into that spoiler outfit and how that's going to connect to Batman. Because we all know it's connected to Batman, but because of Tim Drake. Now that Tim Drake doesn't really have a relationship with Stephanie, how is she going to get that connection with Batman? Really intrigued by that. So what didn't I like about this issue was the art. I thought it really brought this issue down with a lot of emotions. You know, one thing I loved about Batman Eternal, been liking about Batman Eternal, is the character connections. It's the Bat Family titles. Not just Batman, it's the Bat Family. And I love the Bat Family. And you guys know that. More than probably Batman. I love the family. I love that aspect. So, that's something I really like about Eternal. But the emotions, dialogue-wise, was there, but facial expressions weren't. I just did not really like the art. I thought it's the same artist as, I'm pretty sure, as Batman and Robin, because it has the same feel. But also with Damian, son of Batman, I thought that was a lot better. It's Nugulia that's doing the art, but then, like, look, the facial expressions don't work in it. It actually leaves the emotion that we've been feeling with the dialogue. So that kind of ruined the issue for me a little bit, was the art. It brought it down a little. So I'm going to give this 4 stars. Still really love the story, but the art kind of brought it down. Hopefully we get another artist onto the next issue, but I understand they have to switch artists because can't have one artist for a weekly title, because that'd be obviously a lot of delays then. Let's get into number 2, which is da-da-da-dun. Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. Yeah, I did make number 1. I talk a lot in-depthly about this in my in-depth review, so I would check that out if you want a real in-depth story about this. But overall, there's a lot of mini-stories to promote other Spider-Man titles. Most of them are pretty good. Most of these mini-series usually like, oh, I get it. One is like promoting pretty much the Spider-Man movie with an Electro story. But I love the Black Cat story, where Black Cat's like, well, Spider-Man put me in jail. You know what I'm going to do? Play with him. And then kill him. So I really like Black Cat story a lot there. I thought that was really interesting. And then we get to see a really cool story promoting the issue 1.1 with this guy who first met Spider-Man before he was Spider-Man. And he wants to become his own type of Spider-Man. So I'm actually really intrigued with this new Spider-Man miniseries. And I love the art for it also. But then there's other stories that are trying to promote Spider-Man 2099. Didn't totally impress me. I thought it was better than what we've been getting with Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099. But it didn't totally impress me. I don't really like Miguel that much. But, and then we had, like, Kane. Like, I've seen that story 10,000 times. I didn't need to see it again. But again, this is more for the new readers, getting into the Spider-Universe. So let's talk about that main story now. I talked about the other stories. The main story, again, was new reader friendly. It's more for the new readers than anything. There's some lackluster comedy, like, Peter not having clothes on. But because Peter didn't have clothes on, there was one of my favorite pages where Johnny is just laughing at Peter. It's like, oh my god, Peter has no clothes on. And then Mary Jane's like, idiot. So that's my favorite page. That's the comedy I love about Spider-Man. But then, him having no clothes on, just like, oh, that's whatever. That was kind of juvenile. But yeah, it's mostly kind of catching up with what's been going on with Superior Spider-Man. If you missed it, maybe some people skipped it because, people did say, oh, I'm not reading Superior Spider-Man until Peter comes back. So maybe some people skipped it and now you know what happened. So we're learning as Peter goes on what really is happening with his life. But the big cliffhanger here is with Anna Marie. And she says, hey, I know you're Spider-Man, darling. So Peter's like, oh wait, now I'm gonna have to tell her that, I'm Peter, not Dr. Octopus. And Anna Marie also found an engagement ring in the drawer. So Dr. Octopus was gonna, propose to her. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Peter tackles this relationship. Do I want to see him with Anna Marie? No. I'm an MJ. Look at this. I'm an MJ and Peter fan. You know that. I don't want to see him with Anna Marie. But it's gonna be complicated. Are they gonna be friends? Are they not gonna be friends? Like, I don't know where it's gonna go. But I think that's something interesting to see. Especially, there has been consequences with Dr. Octopus, but a lot of the relationship stuff has been fixed because people believed him. Like, no, wait, that was Dr. Octopus. But Anna Marie, I think it's gonna be a complicated one. So I think that'll be interesting. But yeah, it was good. I like Ramus's art. I think it worked well. But it's more of like, hey, this is new reader friendly, guys. It's for new readers. But I'm still looking forward to more of the stories to come. With Silk, really looking forward to that. Spider-Verse, of course, looking forward to. So those are the things I'm really looking forward to. And this is just a really good jumping on point. And that's what I'm going to give it. So I'm going to give this 4 stars. I feel solid. It's definitely worth your money. Obviously, it's number 2 on my list. And but it didn't blow my mind either. Nothing too crazy happened in this issue. So I'll give it 4 stars. Very good new reader-friendly book. If you haven't read any comics, I do recommend this. Really new reader-friendly. Like the art. And I liked how they promoted the Spider books. And also, if you haven't read Inhuman, it's in there too. I read it, so I just skipped it. It's very large, the book. So, I recommend it. It was a solid book. Give it 4 stars. What was my number 1 pick of the week? Again, before I announce my number 1 pick, nothing totally blew my mind this week. This is just something I enjoyed this week that I thought I was like, alright, this is better than all the other books. And that's All New X-Men issue 26. I had more emotion with this. I liked that it went back to what All New X-Men was all about. Had some good cliffhangers, had some good character interaction. What I love about All New X-Men is the character interaction. We had that a lot here. We get to see, Jean encounter older Scott, and I thought that was really interesting. You know, her talk about her new powers. We still don't really see her new powers, but I'm sure as the series goes on, we'll see more of her new powers. We get to see Laura, which I thought was the most interesting. Miss Scott is like, hey, I'm going to leave because Scott left. Which is, it is interesting to see that because she trusted him, and it took her so much to trust him, and now he just left. And we are seeing more people talk about, Scott leaving, and I do like how people, reacted to that. Some people were just like, well, I understand why Scott left. And then Laura's like, well, I don't understand why Scott left. And now we get to see Scott, a shapeshifter pretending to be Scott, stabs Laura. And everyone's like, oh, what happened? And then there's a crowd, Kitty, everybody finds Laura stabbed. And they're going to find out the person who stabbed Laura was the future X-Men from Battle of the Atom, which I'm okay with. I think if you hate Battle of the Atom, you might be, no, Battle of the Atom. But I think that story needed to be closed anyway, so I understand why they're doing it, and hopefully they could close these new future X-Men. You knew that it was coming. You guys knew it was coming. They didn't go anywhere, so it has to end this story. Yeah, I like the art. I really like the story. And again, I like the conversations here. I like Laura. I thought she was well done here, and I can see why some people would think the characters are a little annoying here, but you gotta understand the circumstances. Like Kitty, she's just kind of yelling on this whole issue, but you understand because everything's falling down for her. She's the leader of this group. People are leaving. People are getting stabbed. You gotta understand where Kitty's going through, and she has this guy that she hates, Cyclops. Like, you better just go. Stop going with Jean. Stop talking to her. That doesn't lead to any good things. So, you understand that Kitty's trying to control everything because nothing's being controlled. And same for Laura. She went through Avengers Arena. You gotta understand why she wants to leave because she has nothing here and then she gets stabbed. So, I really liked it. I liked the character interaction. Even though it's not like, oh my god, only X-Men's crazy good. I just thought it was the best issue from this week. Nothing totally impressed me this week though. So, I'll give this 4.5 stars. I thought it was a good issue, but I think it just made 4.5. It probably in a regular week it would have been 4 stars. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and please tell me in the comments below what you thought about the comics I read this week, and what's your thoughts on the comics. What's your best pick of the week? What's your worst pick of the week? Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the right situations. And next week I'll have Comic Uno episode 47, and a lot more comics than this week because I only had 10. But hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.